there folks, it's Wrestling Showdown Rewind, where every Sunday at 12 o'clock we take a dip back into the extensive archives of the Worldwide Wrestling League, and this week will be no exception. But before we go diving into the archives, why not look forward to hopefully some live wrestling? Now, as you know, we had to reschedule a bunch of dates earlier in the year thanks to the coronavirus. Some of these events have had to be rescheduled, if you see what I mean. And this is our current proposed lineup. Now, obviously this is subject to change, it's subject to various allowances and restrictions being lifted, etc, etc. But fingers crossed we can bring you these events when we are hoping to bring them to you. Because what could be better than seeing live W3L action? Exactly, nothing. So hopefully we can bring these to you and you can come out and see us live and in person, because nothing beats seeing W3L live. This is great, but live is even better. And when we are back live, we'll have the mighty crafty connoisseur ably assisting us. They have been working hard throughout lockdown. You can go onto their website, which has been active all this time, and make a purchase. They've always got special offers on. Check out all their social media for that. But have the website, make a purchase, tell them that we said hello. And when you're making a purchase, why not buy a W3L fan support package? Prices start at only £5, so something to suit every single budget. And not only do you get cheap ringside tickets, you get a DVD, a signed poster, and an exclusive video message from a W3L star of your choice. That's available from our website. So get one of them and help us continue along before we are able to bring you live wrestling again. But the archives, the reason that we do Wrestling Showdown Rewind every single week. And one of the great things about it is sometimes able to bring you people that you maybe weren't familiar with or you had forgotten about, and that's exactly what we've got this week. We're going to be seeing Dragon Aisu, a man who is best known for his tenure in the northwest of England. He was all over the UK, and yep, right here in W3L as well, and was sort of a standout back in his day. And he's taking on a man who I think it's fair to say is one of the foundations of tag team wrestling, certainly here in W3L. I am talking about Judge Jimmie James. Long-time W3L fans' ears have pricked up at that, I have no doubt. So what's going to happen? Well, let's find out as we go down to ringside and see Dragon Aisu take on Judge Jimmie James.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Fordyce here with you on Wrestling Showdown Rewind. We are going all the way back to the August of 2006 to bring you this match from Kelty, and we feature two wrestlers who we just really do not see these days. Both men have since hung up the boots. In the black shorts you've got Judge Jimmie James, one of the forgotten men of Scottish wrestling in many ways, and that man getting negative reaction is Dragon Aisu. You can hear which these two men is the more popular. Hardly surprising considering that the Judge does actually come from Kelty, so we are in his hometown. And so these two men again have since retired, but they certainly have a mark on wrestling. Dragon Aisu especially, he is a Canadian wrestler, well, so he proclaims, who wrestled throughout the northwest of England, wrestled throughout the northeast of England, competed a lot in the west of Scotland way back when, and would go on to do a lot of things behind the scenes in pro wrestling as well. Whereas, as he jumps the Judge from behind. Judge Jimmie James, like I said, something of a forgotten man in Scottish wrestling, because he's most known for being one half of the tag team of Fight Club. He originated the team, had a fair bit of success. He'd only been going a couple of years at this point, and earlier in this year, in early 2006, he did hold the W3L Tag Team Champions, something he would do on 4 separate occasions throughout his career. And he was mainly known as a tag team wrestler. Obviously here he's facing Dragon Aisu. And yeah, W3L was his main home, all told, as Aisu continued to jaw with the audience. Aisu debuted in early 2004, so both these men probably relatively equal in experience. And if you've ever seen the Resurrection DVD that W3L has, strong lockup, and Judge Jimmie James taking the wrist of Dragon Aisu. The Dragon was actually part of the tournament to crown the first ever tag team champions. Got knocked out in his match, I mean, out of the tournament, not literally. But returned to W3L on a couple of occasions, not often. Again, his career in England and wrestling throughout the west of Scotland, as he did fairly regularly, kept him kind of busy. And he gets to the ropes to break that hammerlock. Referee Clarence Mikado being in charge of the action here, just making sure we got that break. And Dragon Aisu saying his hair was pulled. I don't know how good Judge Jimmie James's grip is, but considering how shaved down Aisu's hair is, would have been a hard job trying to grab that hair. And then circling each other and going for this lock up. And it's Aisu now with that waist lock. A nice drop toe hold by the judge. And applies that front face lock. Again, Judge Jimmie James was a man that helped really establish the tag team division in Scottish wrestling. I say Fight Club went on to do some great things, but it was the judge was one of the original members. Again, multiple time tag team champion. He is best known for the tag team wrestling. It was September 2008 that he eventually retired. And I think a lot of people have forgotten about him over the years. They forget that he was around in the early days. He helped as Aisu goes yet again to the ropes. Not trying to wrestle his way out of it, just grabbing the ropes. And so yeah, it's great to be able to dip into the W3L archives to see somebody like Dragon Aisu. Again, if you know your British independent wrestling, you may be familiar with what he's done. And again, somebody like Judge Jimmie James, who's sort of been left as Scottish wrestling's moved on. People have forgotten that he was there, but he was a big part of it back in sort of 2006 and 7. Obviously more popular in this contest as well. Oh, Aisu wanting respect or he will leave. I mean, he's a tough competitor, don't let this fool you. Dragon Aisu can get the job done. And if you've ever watched any of his matches, particularly for companies like 1PW, if you remember the history of the 1PW promotion, he was part of them. And again, he wrestled for lots of like smaller groups throughout England, Scotland as well, as I've mentioned multiple times. 3CW was one of the organisations he was most known for. 5-time 3CW heavyweight champion he was, so he can definitely get it done. And when 3CW made its brief return, he was part of that a couple of years ago. As time went on, he formed the Damned Nation. They wrestled for a whole bunch of companies, but ended up kind of leaving wrestling. He's written a series of books on WWE. He's an editor of a magazine, or certainly was anyway. The judge has now got that wrist lock on, and he worked behind the scenes for a lot of companies, helped run them. Was part of the WOS wrestling show on ITV. He was working behind the scenes on that. So most of his ventures these days, Dragon Aisu, are outside the ring more than inside. So applies that side headlock. And again, Judge Jimmie James, 2008 he retired, and it's kind of been it for him, unfortunately. And Aisu ran right through him as he came off those ropes. And that was a bit of a surprise. The judge is a big man. I mean, Aisu's no small man either, but Dragon Aisu went right through him in his arm drag. And a drop kick from close range. We didn't quite get the leg extension that he wanted, but Dragon Aisu has gone to the floor. We remember that Dragon Aisu used to be known as Ice 17. That's what he initially called himself when he started. The name was inspired by the tag team of PG-13. You may remember from your Memphis days. They were also part of the Nation of Domination. And the two guys used to rap Farouk to the ring, and so his name was inspired by them. Offering a handshake, but the judge saying no. And clubbing away with some fists here. Up ahead is Steam, and he runs right into the post. And remember, that's a square post as Aisu drives those knees into his spine. So of course when you hit the square post you hit the edge of it, which makes it even worse. You've cracked a clavicle there. Nice, generating some offense. A rolling neck snap. Over the years, Dragon Aisu did modify his style, became a lot more hard hitting, a lot more Japanese in his proclivities, if you like. A lot more Japanese stuff in his matches. We're seeing elements of that, stringing moves together there. As he drops him down across his knee. And the judge trying to kick him away, but Dragon Aisu applying that half crab. Now, being a Canadian wrestler, well, let's be honest here, he's not a Canadian wrestler at all, from the northeast of England, but he always proclaimed to be Canadian. I think he's been retired long enough that we can ignore that. But yeah, he always claimed to be a Canadian wrestler, and of course he liked to utilise the sharpshooter, because obviously if you're a Canadian wrestler it's kind of something you have to do, isn't it really? So he would like to utilise that, so it makes sense he targets the leg of Judge Jimmie James. He picks him up, so he drops him down with the almost like a shin breaker more than a knee breaker. And Aisu has the match going his way. And in case you're wondering why he changed from Ice 17 to Dragon Aisu, he's inspired by pro wrestling legend Super Dragon. That was partly where the dragon element came from. Aisu being Japanese for ice, or at least the English version of it, if you like. The judge is firing off a volley of blows and hitting a clothesline. This is quite an important match in some respects for both men, because as he lands the fist drop, the W3L Heavyweight Championship is actually vacant at this point in history, and so a strong showing by both men will benefit them. There's hang on, Clarence Mercado going for the cover, just getting the two, and there's a battle royal later on in the show, the winners of which will meet for the vacant Heavyweight Championship. So as a consequence, getting some momentum on your side, potentially injuring one of your opponents, will no doubt benefit you as you go into that battle royal later on. That is in the back of both men's minds. But what is uppermost is trying to survive this contest. Let's get a figure four leg lock applied. Dragon Aisu has been working over the legs of the judge, who's a fairly big man, like I mentioned. And obviously the great thing about Judge Jimmie James is that he's obviously got a lot of power in his body. You can have seen that with some of his strikes, so weakening that base makes it hard for him to stand and hard for him to kind of plant his feet to be able to throw you around. And the judge has been trying to get to the ropes but can't, and Aisu's been manoeuvring himself, and well, Clarence Mercado caught him there, and now he just blatantly grabs the ropes for added extra leverage. Now arguing with Dragon Aisu, telling that he saw him blatantly grab the ropes, break the rules. Aisu not happy with that at all. So trying to rally behind Judge Jimmie James. Reversal. And a Russian leg sweep. And dumps him down with that back suplex. The judge may have smacked his head off the canvas as well. I mentioned before, Ice 17 heavily inspired by Japanese wrestling, a lot of those big suplexes, that's what they like to use. Neglecting to go for a cover, however. Balancing himself on the middle turnbuckle, what we're going to get. He went for a foot stomp, the judge out the way. There's not a lot of clearance in this roof, so maybe couldn't get as high as he might have liked, but the judge with the sweep has taken him down. Now you see the judge clutching at his knee, just kicking at Dragon Aisu, hurt him. And he's slow to get up. Oh, and an STO. I think he's trying to generate some offense by getting up ahead of steam off the ropes, but Dragon Aisu caught him, and now goes to the cover. Will he defeat the judge? No, he won't. And Dragon Aisu saying it should have been a 3. It's a nice STO, it has to be said. Don't know about the wisdom of Judge Jimmie James trying to run off the ropes when he's got bad legs, but Guess he knows what he's doing. Like I say, normally he's used to being in tag matches. So he takes a solid chop to the chest. By now he would have tagged out. By now you think he would have reached out and got his partner in, because that way then he can get a bit of a rest. And right in the spine, Dragon Aisu with a drop to the chest as well. And he goes for another cover. He just nets him with two. He's worked on the legs, kicked him in the spine, dropped him in the chest. Clearly trying to do anything he can to try and keep the judge down, but he keeps kicking out. He's got his hometown crowd on his side, but he is struggling. Vertical suplex attempt here. That's exactly what it was. The ease there with which Dragon Aisu suplexed Judge Jimmie James. And I mentioned it. I said he'd go for it. And he applies the sharpshooter. And you see the judge has raised himself up to try and lessen the angle at which he's being bent in half. And caught in the sharpshooter. I don't know if he's trying to crawl the ropes. He's got a long way to go. And he's dragging the dragon, no pun intended. And he gets the rope just to no more, but Judge Jimmie James grabs the rope. So Dragon Aisu has to break. That took a lot of effort. If the judge had remained flat on the canvas, Aisu could have ranged his back further in that sharpshooter. He would probably have submitted, but he was able to hold himself up on his forearms. And like I say, it would negate some of the pressure somewhat. And out of nowhere, a belly-to-belly suplex. Oh, lovely move by the judge. Now applying a Jujigatame, but Dragon Aisu knew exactly where he was and got on the ropes. It's a nice move by the judge to try and take out the arm of Dragon Aisu. He just drops him with a clothesline and a back elbow. Nothing too fancy about these moves, but they're working for the judge. See, having to shake the leg to get some feeling back into it. And an uppercut. He took his head off of that one. Oh, and over the shoulders, but Aisu's getting out of it. And he nails him with a backcracker. Dragon Aisu knew that he was in danger up on the shoulders. Nobody kicked him in the spine earlier. Just leans back, hooks the leg, and doesn't put anywhere near enough pressure across the shoulders of Judge Jimmie James. Aisu arguing with this audience. Seen that quite a lot in this match. I don't know if it's overconfidence or not. He gets hold of the judge. So he's going for a half Nelson German suplex. The judge elbowing his way out. And he gets him across the shoulders. He was trying for this earlier. Oh, and he nails him. The judge, you might say, has delivered the verdict. And is this going to be enough? And it is. Judge Jimmie James flattens Dragon Aisu, gets the pinfall victory, and wins this contest. Fair play to Aisu. Showed why he was one of the most in-demand wrestlers in his day up and down the country. But ultimately, the winner of the match is Judge Jimmie James.
Judge Jimmie James getting the victory there over Dragon Aisu. Again, that's one of the cool things about doing Wrestling Showdown Rewind, is being able to bring you stars from the past, like Judge Jimmie James and indeed Dragon Aisu as well, who may otherwise have been consigned to history. But you can bring them back for you right here on Wrestling Showdown Rewind. Now, speaking of events, we've got some live events hopefully in the offing. Again, these are our dates. We've had to reschedule some of these. Hopefully all goes according to plan, but of course we are at the whims of various governmental restrictions being lifted, so fingers crossed we can bring you these events when we hope that we're going to be able to. We will keep you informed and up to date. As soon as we know, you'll know. But right now, this is what we're aiming for, and hopefully we can bring you some live W3L action sooner rather than later. When we do, we'll have Crafty Connoisseur joining us. Again, check out their website. It'll take you to all of their social media as well. Check them out. There's always offers on and special coupon codes and the like if you know where to look. Hunt them down, make a purchase from their website. They'll send it to you. You don't have to leave the house. Come straight to your door, tell them that we said hello. And get some fan support package as well. Help W3L continue until we can bring you live W3L action. Prices start only a £5. I mean, come on, you spend it on a Deliveroo, quite frankly. So you can spend it on a W3L fan support package. That will get you a DVD, it'll get you a signed poster, cheap ringside tickets, and an exclusive video message from a W3L star of your choice. Again, signed to every single budget. Get one of them, and you can pick that up from our website, w3lwrestling.com. Make your purchase there. Sign up to the mailing list while you're at it. Give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, join us on Instagram, and of course subscribe to this channel. You'll be notified every Sunday at 12 o'clock when we bring you Wrestling Showdown Rewind, and also you'll see all the other cool supplemental programming that we've given you over the past few months. So make sure you have subscribed. Use that hashtag Dragon Aisu and Judge Jimmie James. Not bad, eh? Tell us what you thought about that. Get in touch, engage with us here at W3L, and then come back next week as we continue to dive into the archives. We'll bring you another classic W3L encounter. I will give you a slight heads up. This features a wrestler who is still active today, taking on a wrestler who has retired a few years ago. That's all I'm going to say. But come back and find out who it is next week, right here on Wrestling Showdown Rewind.